crafters, I hope you're staying warm and dry in these extreme weather systems. I know I am, and I've been doing a lot of crafting. For tonight we're going to case a card from the annual catalog, and you'll find the original on page 45. And we're going to be using the Sweet Blooms photopolymer stamp set and dies. For the background paper we're going to be using the Floral in Blooms designer series paper. And of course I'm going to change it up a little bit. Hi, I'm Joan Heberlein, and I created this video for Joan's Simple Paper Crafts found right here on YouTube. If you're new here, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you're a returning guest, welcome back. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. That way you won't miss when I post a video, which is typically once a week. Now give me a few seconds to turn the camera down and we'll get started. Here's a card we're going to be making tonight. And we're going to be using the sentiments found on the Sweet Blooms photopolymer stamp set. We'll use this one here, the have a, it's a, day, and the hello. We won't use the blooms. Then we're going to use the dies. We've got the lovely die right here. This is the background die, and this is the detailed die. That's all we're going to use from that. And then from the Stylish Shapes dies, we're going to use this third smallest banner die. The paper that we're going to use is the Florals in Blooms designer series paper. And we've got 6 different designs here. Actually 12 different designs, but they're 2 on 1 sheet. So we've got this one here. This one. This one. This one. This one. And this one. We'll go ahead and use this one first. What we need to do is cut this down. I'm going to cut it as if we're making 2 cards. We want to take 1 inch off, and we've got to make sure we've got it in the right perspective. So this is the way the flowers are growing. So we want to cut it this way, one inch off the bottom here. This is our trimmer. This is the scoring blade, and this is the trimming blade. And I've added a second trimming blade and wrote glitter on it. It's actually one of these that has been dulled, so that if I'm using foil or glitter, I use this so that this stays sharp. And I'm going to move these out. They go all the way out along that track. So we've got 12.5 inches of surface here we could cut. So we're going to hang on to this, and we're going to bring this in, and we're going to cut 4.25 inches. And this is what we'll use for another card someday. Then we want to cut this at 5.5 inches. And before we do that, I'm going to score it at 1 inch. So we need to have a score line, and since we're making the potential for 2 cards, we're going to score it on the long edge there. Now we can trim it at 5.5 inches. So we trimmed that down to 4.25 inches by 5.5 inches, or 10.8 centimeters by 14 centimeters. And then we scored it at 1 inch, and that's 2.5 centimeters in from this edge. Then we're going to take this and we're going to cut it at 5.5 inches, or 14 centimeters. And put one of these in this other card over here because we aren't going to use that right now. Then we're going to take this and make it 1/4 inch, and that's going to be 0.6 centimeters. that. We'll set that aside for right now. Then we need to do some die cutting. So let me show you what we've got here. We've got these lovelies cut out here. I've got 2 of them already cut out. We need 1 more cut out. So let's bring in that lovely, and this is the background lovely. And we're going to bring in our large cut and emboss machine. And this piece is 4 inches wide by 8.5 inches, or that is 10.2 centimeters by 21.6 centimeters. And we're just going to bring this in here. And as you can see, I've been switching them right. I went this way first, and then I turned it this way, and now I'm going to turn it this way. I think that's right. Because I don't think we can get it here. Nope, there's not enough room to get it over here. So we're going to do it this way. And we'll scooch it there. And I'm going to bring in our tape. We have Post-it label cover-up tape. It sticks securely, removes clearly, and you can use this over and over, which we will do. We want to use this sandwich right here. So we need the number 1 plate, the number 2 plate, and then the number 3 plate. And then we'll bring our paper in. And I've got that tape down, and it seemed to have held, so we don't have to do anything with that right now. And this is the second number 3 plate. And we're just going to bring that in there and roll it out. That's waste. The rest should be part of the base. Okay, so now we have 3 lovelies, and then we want to do 1 in the black. I'm going to use this adhesive sheet to apply to this black cardstock, so let me do that real quick. Then I won't have to glue it because this will stick for me. So this is cut at 4 inches by 5.25 inches. We need to have at least 4 inches by 3 inches. So let me give you those measurements. 4 inches is 10.2 centimeters and 3 is 7.6 centimeters. And we're going to take this piece here, and I'm going to pull this off. This is the waist. It's glossy and it's not sticky. This has sticky on it. So we're going to line it up right here. Okay. And we'll pull this back, and we'll pull that next piece off from there. I'm just going to pull it from down here. And actually, if I take your pick tool, I can probably get it better than I can with my fingernails. Then you just want to pull this off, and we'll set that down. And we'll do this next, same way. Just pick this up. Then we're going to take this detail die, and we're going to put it on here. And let's bring in our cut and emboss again. We'll use that same sandwich. And we're going to bring this here. And I'm going to take this tape and use it on here. And then crank it out. And take this down here. And then we're going to pop out these centers here for the E. The L's already came out. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to glue these together. So these I want to stack. This is one way to add dimension without using dimensionals, is to cut out the sentiment multiple times and gluing it together. And I chose 3 and then having the black on top of those 3. I'm going to use Tombow multi-purpose glue to glue this together, but this I can't squeeze because I have arthritis. So I'm going to use My Sweet Petunia, and I can get a lot more detail out of this than I could using the other thing. So we're going to glue this right here. Let me bring it up here before I get much farther. So I'm squeezing it quite a bit right now, and it's bringing me a nice stream there. I'm probably putting way too much glue on here, but I want to make sure that it stays in place. Then when I set this down between uses, there's a rubber stopper here, and that keeps it from drying out. Okay, so that's layer number 1. Make sure everything is lined up good. I'm going to turn it over, just make sure that we don't have anything sticking out. So that's layer number 1. Here's layer number 2. So now we have 3 layers, because we had the first layer, then we had the first, we had first layer, then we added 1, and we added 2, so that makes it a total of 3. Then we're going to put this on there. Remember, we added the adhesive backing, so we're just going to peel this apart here. And then we're going to line this up here. Trying to set it down without making it stick permanently yet, because I have to adjust it a little bit here. Okay, we're burnishing that with our fingers. I got some glue right there. I'm just going to take my adhesive eraser and just touch that up so we can get that out from there. Okay, that is ready. So let's bring in our card base. We want to cut this down to 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 right away. So that will be 10.8 centimeters. Then we'll cut it at 5.5. And 5.5 is 14 centimeters. Let me get that out of the way. So that gives us a card base at 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, or 14 centimeters by 21.6 centimeters. And we scored it at 4 1/4, and 4 1/4 was 10.8 centimeters. I'm just going to fold and burnish this. I like burnishing it on both sides to give a nice crisp edge. And what we need to do is put this piece on the inside of the card. This is 3 1/4 inches, which is 8.3 centimeters, by 5.5 inches, which is 14 centimeters. And we're just going to glue that right down here, leaving a 1/2 inch on either side, which is 1.3 centimeters. And I like to turn it sideways when I'm putting these big pieces in here, because then I can see the top and bottom a lot easier and eyeball it. So that looks about a 1/2 inch right here. And I'm just going to burnish it with my fingers. Then remember we cut this 1/4 inch piece? We're just going to put some glue on that and stick it right here. So let's do that. That's all we're doing on the inside of the card. The paper color is Bubble Bath. So we're going to use this ink to make our sentiment. We're going to stack this up again. We want it to be 4 layers high because we don't have something coming on the top part. This is a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4 inches. I just took a piece of scrap and we're going to stack them. I'm just looking to see if there's any edges on there. It doesn't appear to be. Sometimes when you cut it, it curls one way versus the other. And that's what I was looking for, a curved edge. And I see a curved edge on this right now. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and bend it down. That works. Then we'll do the next one. I want that to line up there. And I see a curved edge down here, and I'll get that down. Now we've got a stack of 4 pieces of cardstock, and we want to put a sentiment on there, and we're going to have "It's a Lovely Day." So we're going to just do "It's a" and then "day" on here. And I'm just going to go ahead and run those through our Stampin' Scrub. And I haven't used this yet today, so let me put some mist on there. And we want to put it on this side because this has the raindrop in there. So that means this is wet, and this has a sunbeam in there. So this should be dry. Okay, I'm going to close this up. Let's bring this back out here. We need to trim this down. And I'm going to do that edge curve downward. And let me see, I think I have glue on my fingers because it's showing up on the paper. So we're going to trim this. And we want to have it be "It's a." And then we'll say "day." And we're going to trim this right here. Let's see, they should be square. This one is not square. Let me do this one. It looks a little better. Okay. So to finish this off, we have this piece here. And we've got it scored at 1 inch here, or 2.5 centimeters. And we're just going to fold and burnish that. And we're going to leave it with this side to the front. So I'm going to put some glue on here. And we'll glue that down. We'll burnish that. Make sure there's no glue bubbles. Then we'll put this on here, leaving a 1/2 inch on either side. And let me get this on here. Don't want to get glue on my work surface. Now I cased this card right out of the catalog. It's on page 45. And if you look at that page, when they put theirs down, they off-centered it. They moved it to the left a little bit more. I like the idea of having it centered. So that's what I did. So we're going to take this and put it on here. And what I want to do is glue this down. So this piece I'm just going to go ahead and put glue on the back. We could have went and created these large lovelies with that adhesive sheet and then stick them all together. But since it's so wide, I can easily put the glue in here and not have it be a problem, other than dropping it on the card. So then we want to have it say, "It's a lovely day." So we're just going to put glue on the back of this. And we'll put it right about there. I'm going to make sure it's level. And then we'll do the day part. I think I'm going to push this over a little bit more, if I can. It looks like it's stuck, so I'm going to bring in our heat gun. I like the idea that being over to the left a little bit more. The heat is going to release the adhesive so I can move it. I don't know if you could hear that, but the heat releases the adhesive, so then I can move it without tearing the paper. I'm just going to put a little more on there. Yeah, that looks good. And we can maybe put a butterfly on here. We have some brass butterflies. We can stick those on there. One there. I think there's a small one up here. And another one right there. There. Alright, this one's done. And let's bring in our next one. We're going to do the garden green. And since I did this card from scratch, I've got a lot of this already done. So we've got the inside piece done. We need to glue this inside here. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. That's that 1/4 inch piece of the designer series paper. And I'm doing the reverse side of it. Then we need to do the designer series paper. We got the 1-inch score line, or 2.5 centimeters, and we're going to fold and burnish that. And we'll put some glue on that. And we'll just take our bone folder and get all the glue bubbles out. We can glue this down. So this, with the fold line in there, this becomes 3 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. So that gives us a 1/2 inch on either side of the card. And I have this is 3 pieces stacked already, and then we just have this to put on top of there. And we're going to glue this one so I can show you how easy it is to use this glue gun for that. What I try to do is find a bigger spot and then pull it through. Okay, then we just need to line this up here. Now it has glue, so there's a little more wiggle room than there is with the tape. It's easier to set it down and then just push it over to the right positioning. This needs to be moved over. Okay, and I'm just going to turn this upside down just to make sure that's all pressed down properly. Then we need glue on this. And I've got way too much glue here. I'm pressing it too hard. And then we'll put this right here. So that's one way to add these layers by putting a white background for the heavier part of the lovely, and then use the same color as the designer series paper for the detailed part of the lovely. This one I just used the white background and then used basic black. So let's go ahead and put some gems on there. Let's see. This would be cloud cover. There, we've got our second card done. Okay, that was Garden Green we just did, and now we're going to work with Petunia Pop. We've got another piece cut at 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and we've got the inside already done. So let's put that 1/4 inch piece in there. And the 1/4 inch piece is always matching this card. So as you can see, we've got that. Then we're going to take this, we've got that 1 inch score line, we're going to fold and burnish it. I'm going to put some glue in here. And then we're just going to burnish it again, get all the air bubbles out. Put glue on the back side. And then we're going to put this down, leaving a 1/2 inch for a border on both sides. And then we're going to burnish it to make sure all the glue bubbles are out. Then we got Lovely, so we'll put that on there. And then we've got the hello to put on there. So it'll say hello Lovely. And this is 4 pieces of cardstock with the top one stamped with the Lovely. And I'm going to go back to our Garden Green. We're going to stamp the hello in the Garden Green. So let me do that real quick. I'm moving it around the stamp just to make sure that I get good coverage there. If you go in the same spot every time, it'll end up having a divot and you may not get complete coverage on the stamp. Now I can close this up. And we're going to just take our scissors and cut this even. And I can see this is at an angle here, so I'm going to try and even that out a little bit. The other way you could have done is cut this all like 1 inch. I think that was 1 inch there. A little more than 1 inch. Stamp the first one and then glue them all together. That would work too. Let me clean this off with our Stampin' Scrub. And we can glue this one down. Looks like there's a little bit of glue stuck on there. Oh, it wasn't stuck. Okay, we have our next one is going to be in Peach Pie for the cardstock. We've got a 5.5 inch piece by 8.5 inch piece already scored, and we've got the inside already there. And here is that 1/4 inch piece. So we're going to glue that down and put that on the inside. Oh, we didn't want to do that, did we? Well, we'll do it. Normally, we would use the reverse side of the designer series paper. This one, I put the glue on the wrong side, so we're going to have to do it this way then. Or we could cut another piece, but I think it'll work fine. And we're just going to score it so the edges aren't curving up. Then we need to score this at 1 inch, and it's been scored already, so let's fold and burnish that. And we're just going to burnish it again, get all the air bubbles out. And then I'm going to line this up, and I can see the white piece up from the inside of the card here. So I'm just lining it up at that same spot. And then making sure that this is level here, or even there. And then we're just going to use our bone folder to get all the glue bubbles out. Now we've got this tag here, and we're going to die cut another tag. So let me get that out. And where was that die? I think it's up here. We want to have 4 pieces of this cardstock deep. So we'll go ahead and die cut this. I'm going to use this mini cut and emboss machine. So we're going to use this sandwich here. So we're going to use a number 1 plate. Then we'll use this number 2 plate. Then we'll put the cardstock down. Then we'll put the die on there. And we can put the other piece on there, and I don't think it's going to shift on me. I think we can get it to stay in place. So we're going to go ahead and glue these down first, and then we'll stamp that last one and glue that down. So that's 3 deep, and then we got 1 more. So we want to stamp this before we glue that down. And we're going to have it say, "You made me smile." And we're going to use the peach pie for the ink. Again, I'm moving the stamp around. And let me get my Stampin' Scrub out, and we'll clean that off right away. So we want to glue this down next. And then we're just going to glue this onto the card. So we can either do it right here or down here. Kind of like it down here. To the right, I think. And what you could also do is cut off this edge here, these flags here, and line it up right on this line here if you'd like. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some gems on there. Oh, we've got these peach ones. We'll do that right here. I'm going to put one right on the card, right on this sentiment, right there. And then we'll do 2 up here. All right, here. There. Then we have 1 more card left, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more cards left. We've got Pretty in Pink next. This is cut at 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches already, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And we've got our 3 1/4 inch piece inside the card, and we're going to put this in here as well. And I'm going to put it with the flowers down, so we'll see that opposite side of the designer series paper. There. And then we're just going to have this "You Make Me Smile" again. And we're going to fold this at 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters. We'll burnish that. And then we can put some glue in there. And then we'll put this 3 1/4 inch piece on our card front, and we'll center it so there'll be 1/2 inch on either side. And I can see the white inside of the card here, so I'm just lining it up with that, and then lining those up at the top. And we will take our bone folder and get all the glue bubbles out, and we'll put some glue on this. Now remember, we could cut this off and have it lined up right here. I'm not going to do that. If I wanted to do that, I would have cut the paper ahead of time, because I can't get that straight of a line through 4 pieces of cardstock. Well, let's see. We did this one down here, so let's do one right here. Be right in the center. And I'm going to take our gems. These are our 2025 in color flat pearls. So we're going to take this pink here. That is Strawberry Slush. I'm going to take this adhesive eraser and get rid of my fingerprint there. There, that looks great. Now we have one more. That was pretty in pink. Did I mention that? And then what we have next is strawberry slush. And again, it's a 5.5 inch card by 8.5 inch. And that's 14 centimeters by 21.6 centimeters, scored at 4 1/4 or 10.8 centimeters. And we've got this 3 1/4 inches inside the card. And we're going to do this next. Now, do we want this here? Or do we want it this way? I think I like it this way. So let's go ahead and put glue on this. And we're just going to take our bone folder and make sure we don't have any glue bubbles. Then we'll take this and we'll fold down the card. We have 1 inch on this edge that's been scored. And we're going to fold and burnish that. And let's go ahead and put some glue in here. And we'll burnish this. And that should stick that down. Yep. We got all those glue bubbles out. And we can put glue on the back of this and put it on the center of the card base. And see, we've got the card right here, and that's what I've been lining up, is on the white right there. And let's get the glue bubbles out. And this is lovely, done at 3 pieces of white cardstock and 1 piece of black on the very top. So we're going to put some glue on the back part. And then it's going to say, "Have a lovely day." So let's put glue on the "have-a." And I have that going as far as I can to the left. And then we'll put the day onto the right side. That looks good. And we need to put some gems on there. I got 3 butterflies here. Let's do those. Let's see. I think we are all done. Our latest promotion is the exclusive join offer. It runs from February 3rd to March 2nd. Each new demonstrator gets a free Stampin' Positioner with their starter kit. What's a Stampin' Positioner? It's our newest Stampin' alignment tool that makes stamping easier and more accurate. It allows you to stamp precisely aligned images and create repeating patterns and 2-step stamping images easily and make multiple projects in just minutes. I hope you like this project as much as I do. As you can see, it would work great with just about any sentiment stamp set. Why don't you give it a try? Now, if you've enjoyed today's video, would you do me 2 favors? Click the thumbs up emoji, which means you like it, and would you share it on social media with your crafting friends and pin it to Pinterest? These actions will help me to keep sharing my ideas with other crafters for free, and I'd really appreciate that. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss any future videos. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me. I'm here to help in any way that I can. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Just reach out to me. If you'd like to place a Stampin' Up! Order or like a catalog, hop over to my website where you'll find the Shop Now button. To shop with me, you'll need to go to joanheberlein.stampinup.net. Mark your calendars. I'll be back next Sunday, February 8th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be doing something from the new mini catalog, and I hope you'll be here to join me. Thanks so much for being here with me tonight. I look forward to next time. Bye for now, and don't forget to subscribe.